Hello, Mark. Lots of people I know actually, and people from my programme already. So fantastic. Welcome. Right, I think we will go on and start now. Just make sure there's no more problems, and we will crack right on into this. Yeah, I can still see people joining now. Okay, right. Here we go. Right, welcome to today's masterclass. Thank you for joining me. And the masterclass today is on a topic that I absolutely love to talk about. It's about achieving your full potential. It's about getting to a point where you're bringing your A game, your peak level of performance, so that you achieve your goals faster with more ease and less effort, and without all the self-critical thoughts and the feelings, and without any limitation on yourself, so that you go all out in your life and you go after the life and the success that you want and that you are actually so capable of achieving. And as a person, I'm all about getting results with speed, with efficiency. I'm about getting results as quickly as you humanly can without wasting loads of time. And so with that being said, my aims for today are these. So I want today to provide you with as much information as possible in the hour that we've got together. So get out a notepad and a pen, because you'll want to take some notes today. I'm going to share with you insights and methods based in neuroscience, so that you know what you need to do to achieve your goals faster, and why what I talk about actually works. And I'm going to take some time at the end to introduce you to my Limitless Success Academy that focuses on building a mindset for business success. So even when things are uncertain around you, you don't get held up, and you make progress, you move forward, and you achieve your goals. And I've only got one rule for today, and that is no questions are off limits. I've built my business by sharing how I've changed my mindset, and by sharing how I've built a mindset for success, and how I've used that to take my business, myself, and my clients forward, so that we all have reached our goals faster. And I've shared the problems and the challenges that I faced along the way openly across social media, because I'm so passionate about this. I want everyone to really thrive in their life, achieve their aspirations, just live their best life. And so that's not going to change today, so ask me any questions. And if you ask a question, just be certain to use the chat for this, the Q&A for it, because the chat can sometimes get busy. So let me just check what's going on over here in the chat and see that we're all okay, and then I'll carry on. Good. Okay. So in terms of today, if we've not met before, I'm Leanne Bridges. I'm a high performance coach, and I support business owners, leaders, and high achievers to unlock their full potential and reach peak performance and achieve their goals faster. I'm not going to spend ages telling you about my career history. Let's face it, that is a waste of your time. If you want to learn more about me, you can find my history and what I do. You can check it out on LinkedIn, and you can see what my profile looks like here on this slide. And on LinkedIn, you'll find loads of tips and daily insights, because I post in there daily. And you can also see there'll be loads of recommendations there on that platform for the work I do and the results I'm getting with clients. And you'll find those on LinkedIn and across Google and my website too. So to connect with me on LinkedIn, I've just put it here. Make sure that you either use this QR code, look me up, and then make sure that you actually connect with me rather than just following me. So you just click the more button and then press connect. So the only one fact I do want to share with you, though, is that all the things I talk about today, I've experienced. I've been there, I have experienced it all, and I've made the changes that I talk about. And if you want to ask me any more at the end about that, absolutely feel free, because I appreciate how all this stuff feels and really what it takes to change. So I'm going to get straight into what you're here for now. How can you elevate your mindset and get the success that you deserve? So I'm going to start here. So I've spoken now across the last 4 years with over 750 business owners, leaders, consultants, and that grows every single week. And there are 5 reasons why people are failing to get the results that they deserve. And the reasons are so common across every conversation. So I'm going to take you through them now. And as I reveal them, I just want you to take the time to think about where you're at and where you might be struggling now. And so I'm going to ask you then to share your answers. It's up to you how you share. You can share them with me privately by just selecting to share privately. You can share them with everyone. That's just up to you. But let me know, so that as I go through today's workshop, I can tailor it as much as possible to suit everybody here today, so that you get the biggest benefit. And so as I go through them now, just notice which ones are relevant for you. So the first reason then that most people tell me that's getting in their way is that they know that they're really good at what they do. And most of them actually exceptionally good at what they do. But despite knowing this, they don't feel good at what they do. So they know they're good, but they don't feel good at what they do. And so then they find that means that they start to doubt themselves and their actions, all their decisions, and then they start this whole second guessing thing and all this mental looping and negative self-criticism that goes on, and all that just takes up time. It burns through a load of energy, and of course it slows you down. And now all these people are people who've got years of experience, who are running businesses or in senior roles, but these feelings of like doubt that keep flooding in are getting in their way. So let me know into the chat whether you ever have doubted yourself, even though you know logically that you're really good at what you do. And so then number 2, and I'm going to come back and look at that in a minute, I could get distracted for too long. So like number 2, they think that if they learn more, get more knowledge, strategies or skills, it will help them reach their goals. So people are telling me that they think that they must know everything before taking action or sharing their expertise in like a high pressure or high profile situation. And then they worry that they might be exposed as not knowing enough at some point. And so they gather lots of knowledge and information. And quite often they might do lots of courses or research or reading, all in this attempt to be armed with the knowledge they think they need. And this desire for knowledge means that they're over preparing or over researching to compensate for thinking they need to know more. And the time that this takes means that they're not making the progress they could. And I had a client like this recently, and when we started working together, she was partway through a qualification, and it struck her that she never needed that qualification, that it was just a mindset thing, a story she told herself about needing the qualification to demonstrate her expertise. So the number 3 is they see other people who might actually not even be as competent or diligent. They might know them from their past, and they see them nailing it and they start to wonder why. And sometimes there's then this assumption that they're missing something, but what they often don't see is that self-belief is the missing link. And the difference is that these other people are exuding self-belief, so they're appearing charismatic or influential or whatever that is, and that's the thing, that's the missing link. Because if you want other people to believe in you and to come across in that way, of course you have to have rock solid internal self-belief yourself, like at your core. And it's this belief in yourself, this way of being, that isn't a personality trait. You know, it's something that people think might be a personality trait, excuse me, but it's a mindset thing. And it can be developed, and it can be faster than you expect, can be developed. So then number 4 is that they're failing to get the results they deserve because they set really exceptionally high standards that are unattainable, and then they criticize themselves when they don't achieve them. And all these high standards and expectations, they just take too long to achieve. And of course, when you're not making fast progress, it gets really demotivating and you get disappointed and deflated. And feeling like that just drains the life out of you. And so then number 5 is that they think that they shouldn't need to work on themselves. They should be able to deal with this resistance that they're feeling, these thoughts, these feelings that are holding them back. And they feel like they need to be like a superhuman, and even might see feeling this way and thinking this stuff as a weakness. And so because of this belief of needing to be like almost infallible and be able to achieve everything without any help, that they then won't invest time in themselves and give themselves the time and space that they really need to grow. So they keep doing the same things and just hoping that something changes. So what I'd love to know is which one resonates with you. So let me have a look now what we've got into the comments over here now. So okay, have we got anything here? So let me know into the comments which one of those resonates from 1 to 5 with you. I know I'm slightly delayed, so I should just wait a second and then we'll move on. Okay, can't see them coming through yet, and I think there might be a delay on this. I'm going to come back and have a look in a minute, but if you're writing now, then please do still do that, and then I'll come back and have a look shortly. So whichever one of those it is that you are experiencing, in fact, it might be a few. If you've got any singular particular issue here, by the end of today, you're going to be understanding what it is you need to be doing to start making the change that you want so that you can achieve your goals faster. And I'm going to be doing that by sharing with you this system. So this is a framework that I use to be able to teach everything that I do, and it underpins everything. You see, what I notice happening is that people do bits of this and they don't see results, and then they don't get the outcomes they want, so they think it doesn't work. But that's because they don't have the whole process, and that's what you really need to develop a really strong, resilient mindset. So I can see some of these coming through now. Okay, so 1 and 3. being demotivated by not achieving goals, and that's just so common to feel demotivated because you feel like you're not getting there, and of course that's compounding the problem. So let's move to the first big question, like why should we focus on mindset? Now, there are some fundamental reasons why today's presentation is going to be useful for you, and so I just want to go through 3 of those now. One is, this is my favourite, life is way too short. Like, most of you are here now because you know you need to make a change, but it's likely that you've been thinking about that for a while now, and people then tend to procrastinate on it. So my advice to you now is just to work out today why you're holding back and make a decision how you'll move forward. And I say that because I spent too long in my life overthinking things, worrying about things and doubting myself. And I look back now and I think, like, why didn't I do this sooner? Why didn't I make these changes? And the thing is, I know I didn't do it because I didn't understand it. And I thought that was just how I was. And that's why I'm doing this masterclass today, literally, because if I had this at the point when I needed it, I'd be years ahead of where I am now. I wanted to start a business when I was 26 and I started it when I was 43. You know, if I'd started that business back then with the idea I had, with the mindset I have now, I would be light years ahead of where I am right now. So number 1 is life's too short for all this stuff. So number 2 is, let me just start by asking you a question about this. How many times have you sat in meetings and not said what you wanted to? And then not long later, someone else says the thing that you wanted to say, you know, and so you've missed your chance to share your expertise, to have your voice heard first, your opinions heard first. And how often do you sit listening to other people talking about themselves and everything they've achieved, and you know that you should be sharing like the results that you've got, promoting yourself, your business, your team, the difference you're making, but you don't do it. And you know that if you don't promote yourself, no one else is going to do it. You know, how many business deals or promotions have you missed because you're not visible enough? So the second reason is because, as you already know, you need to be visible for people to see you and hear you and think of you first when there's an opportunity. The thing is, most people don't take a step back and think, how can I get people to see and hear me? How can I get my message across? The reality is most people don't do it and it doesn't cross their mind. It's such a powerful thing to do. It's one of the important things I help people to do, is to take a step back and look at how do they put themselves forward, promote themselves so they speak and people listen. You know, let me ask you this. Have you ever felt like you're not having the impact you want? Let me know into the chat if you felt that way. Okay. So number 3 is, you will improve your relationships in every area of your life. You know, most people I work with find themselves feeling misunderstood or on the periphery of things. They want to have a positive impact and help people or improve things, but they find themselves in conversations or situations where they're just not saying things in a way that works, and where they're not building the relationships and connections in a way that they want. And so they end up then not knowing what to do to change that. They just don't know how to say things in a different way or show up in a different way, so that they have the relationships where they get their point of view across, it goes down well, where the other person appreciates their perspective and what they're sharing, you know, where they feel like they're on the inside of things, really driving things. So the third reason mindset change is so important is because you build better connections and relationships with people. So the reason why this is so fundamental is this, because when you make these mindset shifts, you go all out in your life, you go after what you want, you're visible, you promote yourself, you speak, other people listen, you've got relationships and connections with people that feel really good too. When you get the right mindset, you start showing up with your A game, you're powerful, and all of that means you reach your goals faster. You know, who here would like to show up with their A game all the time? So there are 3 steps, that I want to share with you from my system today. And they are these. So I'm going to talk you through get clarity, take control, and making long-lasting changes. Because after all, that's what this is about. It's about making a long-term change. So in part 1 then, in getting clarity, there are 3 core aspects I want to share with you today. So the first one, or the first 2 actually, are about these 2 things. So step 1 is thinking about, what is it that you actually want? And more importantly, who is it that you actually want to be? How do you want to be in your life? So if you're here today, it's likely that you're feeling a bit stuck where you are. You might be seeking a stronger sense of self-identity and purpose so that you can feel like you're really having an impact and driving forward in your life. probably seeking the ability to make a really positive change in your life and show up as the person you want to be to get the results you deserve. And the thing is, while we aren't clear about what we want and who we aren't focused. And from a mindset perspective, that lack of clarity is a problem. You know, it's a scientific fact that if our mind isn't focused on what we want, if we keep thinking about what we don't want and what's not working, and then one day thinking we'll go all out and the next day wondering if we'd be better to give it all up and maybe find something easier to do, it's that lack of focus and clarity that gets in the way. And I can give you all the tools, the tactics, the systems that we use to be able to make these changes you want to get the results you want to get inside of my program. But until you understand who you are, what makes you tick, what you want, and why you're doing what you're currently doing, you won't be able to implement them in any way that they're going to make a lasting change for you. So the first part is about being really clear about who you are and what it is that you want. You know, do you ever ask yourself, what is it that you actually want? You know, do you ever wonder what it is you really want out of life? Does that go through your mind too? So the third part of getting clarity is about identifying your false beliefs. And I just explained, because very few people are really aware of this. What many people don't realise is that they've hardwired into their minds some false beliefs about themselves that are impacting on how they behave and what they do and the results that they get. See, when we're young, before the age of 7, things that happen or the things that we're told, we just accept as facts. And then we go through our whole life believing at an emotional level that these things are true. And no matter what your childhood, you could have had the most wonderful childhood. People pick up these beliefs because before we're 7, we can't rationalize these things. So we accept them as the truth. And the sorts of things we pick up will obviously vary person to person, but some of the most common that I hit all the time are things like, I don't feel capable enough, I'm not sure if I'm really good enough at this, I don't feel like I know enough, I don't really feel smart enough. And I talk to lots of people about this, and these thoughts and feelings are really common, they're perfectly human, and they're just things we've accidentally come to believe. And what people find hard to grasp is how, on one hand, like they absolutely know they're good enough, smart enough, capable enough. In fact, often they know they're capable of amazing results because lots of the people I work with are really smart. But the thing is, they don't feel that way. They logically know it, but they don't feel it. Excuse me. And it's the feeling that's stopping them. That's the problem, you see. It's emotional, not logical. Because if it was logical, these people would have worked out all of it already, because they're smart people with great businesses, good jobs, but they know that they're not using their full potential, and this is why. It's just human nature that this happens, and I'll share with you what you can do about it today. But before I do that, I think it's important to share more context so you really appreciate what's going on. Because what many people also don't really realise, or if they do, they don't know the impact of, is that we've got a conscious and unconscious part to our mind. People will refer to that as a subconscious, either way. And you can see here the difference between the two things and what they're doing. In the conscious part of our mind, we're doing the thinking, that's in our awareness, like when we're trying to figure something out and we're mentally going through it all. And in the unconscious part of our mind, we store all the things we've learned to do and all the things we've come to believe about ourselves, almost like computer programs. And then as things happen, we automatically process it. We go to our unconscious, and in a millisecond, without even noticing, we'll have found the program based on what we learned in the past to work out what to do, so that we automatically do what we do, act how we act, say what we say. We all think the logical part of our brain, the part we're using for this like conscious thinking, is running our life, but it's not. It's our unconscious running our day. If you think back now to how much of what you say isn't thought through carefully, how many actions you take in a day that you know to do, but you don't need to decide to do, it will be thousands. Your unconscious is running 95% of your life. And when I help people uncover these false beliefs, what they realise is that they've accidentally been connected for years to unhelpful things from the past. And if I explain to you how this works in practice, so Neil went through these 3 steps I've just explained. He's a client of mine. To be transparent, this isn't him, but I wanted to give you a bit of an idea of the kind of person I'm talking about, because when he approached me, and to everyone else, I think he looks like he's got it all nailed. You know, he looks confident, doesn't he? He's a successful business leader. He's got a lovely house, a nice family. You know, he's got a well-paid job. He looks like one of those people who is nailing life. But for Neil, And for so many people on the inside, he was fed up and exhausted by it. He felt stressed. Life wasn't easy. His life was hard work. Neil told me that he'd look at the guys emptying the bins and think that they seemed happier than him. And he wondered if he should just jack it all in. And he kept telling himself like all he wanted was a simple life, to find something simple to do. So whilst he did have the big job and all the material things that go with that, he was unhappy. I wonder, does that story resonate for you? So for Neil, in reality, he didn't actually want to work on the bins. What he really wanted to do, because he's very capable in business, is he just wanted to thrive in his role, but without all that stress and doubt and worry going on. And it's this lack of clarity, all these conflicted thoughts about what to do, that was one of the things holding him back and making him feel stressed, tired, and just not really happy. And so what was going on for him, and the actual cause of this problem, was that he had some deep beliefs about himself that had been with him all his life. As a child, he'd never been that clever, in his view. Now, to me, he seems really smart, but he didn't have what he considered a first-class education. He started out in work, he found his way, he got recognised and promoted, but he could never understand why, because he thought there were always people more qualified than him. And he figured he got lucky, and he felt like one day someone was going to tap him on the shoulder and say, "Hey, Hugh, Neil, what are you doing here? You're not good enough for this." And so, look, what Neil hadn't realised is that he had some underlying false beliefs. And a big one was that he wasn't clever enough. That was a long-held belief. It was deep-rooted. And he hadn't appreciated how negatively that was impacting him. So what he came to realise is that he was operating all the time like that's true. So he would be constantly questioning himself. He'd be doubting himself, overthinking it all. And it makes sense, doesn't it? Because if one of your beliefs is you're not clever enough or good enough, you would be checking all the time that everything was right. And so it's really common for people to hold these false beliefs, really common for successful people. The problem is that you have to work so hard to overcome them, not let them get in the way, and they just hold you back unnecessarily. They stop you making real progress. And so whilst they got you where you are now, they won't let you go where you want to go, certainly not easily. And you hear the saying, I wanted to just draw your attention to this: what got you here doesn't get you there. Okay, because while you have these false beliefs at an unconscious level, you are making thousands of decisions based on them. So if you take the feeling of not being good enough, if we believe we're not good enough, our unconscious is driving all these decisions that align to this all day, every single day. And that's one of the reasons why we hold back. And it's what stops us saying what we need to and promoting ourselves and being really visible and impactful. Our unconscious is saying to us, just stop, don't do it, because you're not capable of that. That's what's going on in our mind. But that being said, it is possible to change so that we stop these beliefs from impacting on us and have more empowered beliefs that support us, so that we feel like stronger, resilient, and that we feel really driven and know that we can achieve success, get it faster and in an easier way, just like Neil has. So once Neil did all this, once he got the clarity he needed on what he wants to achieve, worked out who he wants to be, how he wants to show up in his life, got clear on his false beliefs, and then implemented part 2, which I'm going to go on to now, life changed really quickly. Now he feels on the inside how everybody else sees him on the outside. He's living a life where he's enjoying his work, he's thriving at work. And as he went through this process, you could see him change week on week. He got better results and they came in an easier way. So let's move on to part 2. So part 2 then, having done all of that, is about taking control. Okay, so the thing is, let me just check the chat a minute, just see that everyone can still hear me. We're all still okay, good. So take control. So the thing is, most people don't know how to take control because they don't know what to do. Okay, but in an attempt to try to do this, they try things, especially the sorts of people that I'm working with. And so most people think, what I'll do is I'll work harder because that's going to be the answer to this, to getting what I want, or I'll do more and then I'll be able to get what it is I want. But the reality is it just isn't how it works. If you just keep doing more and more of the wrong things to get you there, you're just going to get more and more of the wrong results. It's about understanding how to get to your objective in the quickest time frame. Like, what are the things that you can do? What are the behaviours that you can start to implement? So for instance, when you don't get the outcome you want or have the impact you want, do you go back and look at the root cause and really get to grips with it? You know, do you look in your mind at what triggered you to do the thing that you did or maybe didn't do, because sometimes it's about avoiding things, do you identify what it actually was that meant you didn't get that outcome? Or do you just dig in and hope that it improves? Because in my experience, that happens so much. Let me, think about that for you. Is it that you're just digging in and hoping over time that the way you feel, how you're thinking, how you're coming across, the results you're getting will just kind of happen? And I ask you that because I was there, I've been there, and it's because I didn't have a plan. I just didn't have a plan to use that worked. And my job is to give you that plan today. So I want to get now into how to take control. So there are 2 important steps I'm going to draw your attention to here. Step number 1 is to reprogram self-critical thoughts, all those negative things that you tell yourself, by resetting neural pathways, so that you stop getting held up by second guessing yourself or not feeling like doing something. Maybe you're procrastinating or holding back. I've already explained that these neural pathways are created when we're young. And once we've got a belief like not feeling good enough, smart enough, or knowledgeable enough, our decisions and patterns of behavior and our ways of acting just happen because we've programmed them in, and that's through neural pathways. So that's why you need to reset your neural pathways, which are like your thinking programs, like the roots. And when you do this using mindset techniques that actually work, you silence the self-criticism, you let go of the irrational feelings, all of which are holding you back in these mental loops and negative thought spirals that just drain you of energy. And once you've done this work, which actually doesn't take very long, you've got a strong sense of self. You feel free. You've just got such a strong sense of who you are, what you're capable of, and you just excel. You move towards it. It is game changing. I know, because as I say, I've been there. And I'm telling you this because I've lived and breathed this stuff. It's a thing that I had going on for years and years in my life. And I'm now in a place where I don't have it, thank goodness. So just if I explain to you how that was and what I did, and you might be able to relate to this if you're in this position too. So let me show you the photos of me back then. So this is me, looking like I've got the perfect life, lovely kids, partner, home. We go on all loads of holidays, and I had an amazing career. So prior to running this business, I was an international HR director, and we were winning awards for how we employed people, and I was the HR director leading on it. So on the face of that, you would think successful. But I just didn't feel that way. I just struggled with how I was thinking and how I was feeling. I was overthinking stuff, worrying all the time, overworking, and it was just so tiring. And I just felt unsure if I could achieve any more. But deep down, I knew I had more in me. And so if I explain a bit about what was happening. So I used to believe things like, oh, there've got to be better HR directors out than me. My company, when they find this out, they're going to want somebody else because they're going to see that I'm not really good enough for this. Or I think, oh, I don't really know enough to be leading on this. But I had 25 years experience. And then I'd see other people and I think they were better than me. So I'd go to a conference, there'd be all these other HR directors there. And with no evidence at all, I perceived that these other people, they delivered more, they knew something that I didn't, and they just had this air like they'd nailed it that I didn't have. And so there was no evidence for any of that stuff. I was doing a really good job, but I couldn't see it. And more to the point, I couldn't feel successful. And now I appreciate, as I said to you, it's a common problem for lots of people. But if you leave, it stifles your creativity, stops you promoting yourself, and it means that you don't take the action you could do to move forwards at the pace that you could have done. So it stops you thriving and achieving everything that you could. And so much as I was successful, I was really struggling to talk about how I was feeling. And I really struggled to admit to myself how I felt about that too. But life was blooming hard work and it was really, really exhausting. And I got so used to how I was, I just thought it was the only way. So I'd pick up the odd book or TED Talk or something. But no matter what I did, what advice I listened to, I might feel better for a few days, but nothing really shifted it. I even worked with 2 coaches. I tried some CBT, and I even had a little go with a counsellor because I'd see if that would crack it. And they would just say to me, Leanne, you need to think differently. Well, tell me something I didn't know. If I had known how to do it, then I would have done it. But luckily, one day, I found the answer to thinking differently. And I've got to tell you, I was pretty happy to find it because I discovered I didn't need to live the rest of my life living that way, wasting all that time and energy on it. And it was a relief to pour that into productive work, into actually being successful. So life's easier now because I don't have to doubt my capabilities. I believe in myself, I'm thriving, and I want that for everyone else. And I would love that for everybody here that wants that for themselves too. So look, for me, after I learned that, and at that moment, I took all the learning, which is that mindset challenges can be overcome, but you have to reprogram your mindset and your thought patterns. That to change your thinking, that you have to use mindset tools grounded in neuroscience. So I researched a range of solutions, qualified in a whole load of things I won't tell you about now. But these tools were all grounded in neuroscience. That's where the progress happens. So I undertook hundreds of hours of study to master's level, and I have developed my own tools now too. I've created a complete framework that successfully changes the way you think. It supports you to change your thought patterns. It means you behave differently, you have more impact, you have better relationships, you're visible, you promote yourself, you're more successful, and you get, and I think this is what people like the most, a sense of inner peace that you may not have felt in a very long time. You know, most people, much as they want all the success, they actually just want to regain some of that like inner solitude, that inner peace. So just let me know into the chat if that's the case for you. So, and I'll come back and I'm going to have a look at that in a minute. But look, so anyway, where am I? So I've created the framework, and with this framework, I help people craft a plan to move forward in their life. And if you book a call with me at the end, I'm actually going to show you how we can craft that plan, a plan that is specifically for you, so that you can start to move forward in the same way. And I haven't got loads of these calls available. So if you know you want one, then when I show you how to book one, then please do grab one. But before I do that, there is one more step that I want to share with you today about how to take control. And that's talking about how do you take control when things aren't certain and you start to experience those feelings associated with fear, apprehension, nervousness, worry, anxiety, all those sorts of unpleasant things. You know, what can you put in place to overcome any obstacle that gets in your way? How can you deal with uncertainty? How can you stop all that distracting you? So, you know, let me ask you, have you got a way to be able to overcome things when it gets tough? Or do you sit there and maybe procrastinate a bit over what to do about it and let it run around in your mind and hold you up? And if you find like you get held up by it, it is not your fault. You just don't have a way to overcome it. As I say, I've been there. You've seen the pictures. You know, when I accepted that award, I was like, absolutely bricking it, and that was because I might have to do an acceptance speech, I might fall up the steps or whatever, all the other things that went through my head. And I remember that day and all the worry about something that actually was incredible. It was an incredible achievement for us on a day when I should have been excited and proud. There I was worrying. Anyway, so what I notice is that feelings like worry and fear are holding people back. And again, they haven't got a way to deal with them. You know, for my clients and myself, it is game changing. The thing is, it's not always obvious that this is what's going on. And I've got clients that say to me, I don't fear things, Leanne. And then we look deeper and they do. It's just, it isn't obvious. And they've also given themselves another reason, because it isn't very nice to admit, I don't think, that we feel worried or scared or nervous. Some of us just don't like to admit that. We feel like we shouldn't feel that way, that in some way we should be superhuman and able to do it all. You know, and I had a client and he didn't like live videos and he thought it was about how prepared he was. It wasn't when we dug in, it was fear. And once we established that and dealt with it, then he's great with video. It's possible to deal with fear, it's just people don't know how to do it. So to help explain, our brain likes us to stay the same. It's wired to keep us safe, obviously, so we survive as human beings. And so it will trigger us to protect ourselves. So something will happen and our brain tries to keep us safe. So it triggers this behavior that it intends to do that. But of course, our brain is really primitive and it hasn't evolved very much over this time period. So our reaction can be counterproductive to success. It mixes up modern day issues, fear of modern day problems, with fear for our life. And a perfect example of that is when people say, oh my God, I would sooner die than speak in public. I mean, nobody ever died from public speaking, did they? But they fear it in the same way. So our brain, it just wants us to stay in our comfort zone, not try new things, not put ourselves out there because that's not safe. And so I see two very common fears. So the first is fear of failure. You know, if we want to succeed, of course, we'll make mistakes, but that's okay, isn't it? Because we will survive. It's not a threat to our life. It is a threat to our pride. And that's what holds us back with fear of failure. It's hurting our pride or our ego. Our primitive brain, it doesn't realize that not achieving a goal is an ego thing, a pride thing, and it's not life-threatening. It can't distinguish at an unconscious level. And where there's this conflict between conscious or logical thinking and unconscious and habitual thinking, we will always or nearly always talk ourselves out of the very thing we need to do. I wonder if you noticed that happening for you. So whilst you logically know you are more than capable of something, or that it is perfectly possible, your brain triggers thoughts like, oh, what if it doesn't work? What if I put myself out there? And people wonder, like, who are they to be doing this? And this what if, it just keeps us safe, of course, but my word, it wastes time, energy, and it's holding us back in our life. And then the second is fear of being a fraud, this fear of being found out. So we wonder when someone is going to find out we don't know enough. We don't have all the answers. We've not done everything in this project before. And a symptom of this is this procrastinating, as I mentioned earlier, trying to perfect our knowledge so that we do know enough. Of course, who says when we know enough? And I find people that go on to work with me will spend a long time before doing that, trying to upgrade their knowledge before they realise it's not knowledge they ever needed. It's this deep sense of self-belief, a strong and resilient mindset with empowered thoughts and feelings to move through all of this. And now fear was an issue for Christine. And let me tell you about how she overcame it. So Christine had worked, as it says here, in corporate. She had senior roles. After redundancy, she'd set up her own business, and she'd been working in a business for about 2 years, but wasn't making headway when she joined my program. Now, I met Christine before that, actually 2 years earlier, when she first started her business. We met through a networking group. And when I met her, it seemed like it was going brilliantly to me. So she seemed knowledgeable, intelligent, experienced. She'd worked for good brands. She's lovely, personable. And I left the call and I thought she was so nice. I was really impressed by her. But when I actually went on to work with her then 2 years after this networking group meeting that we'd had, she said to me that she had some really serious self-doubt problems, and you wouldn't have really known it because she seems really capable. But she wasn't going out and making the sales she needed to. She was finding every reason or excuse possible just to avoid serious business development. And she enjoyed the networking calls in the networking community, but business development, cold calling, cold sales, she found that really hard. But she knew she had to do it for her business to be sustainable in the long term. And she couldn't understand what was going on. She knew she could absolutely go and do it and have a conversation, but it filled her with fear. Now, with Christine and many of my clients, fear is a problem. Fear of making a mistake, fear of putting yourself out there, fear of people saying, like, what do you know? Or that's wrong. And that fear, it just gets in the way and it can really hold you up. Now, Christine overcame that fear. And she says, she said to me that she felt she could achieve more in her business, but this avoiding sales and business development was holding her back. In just a few weeks, she made changes and she had the confidence to go out, make the sales, show up like the fantastic person she is. She didn't feel fear or self-doubt or not good enough. And for her, in 10 weeks, she increased her income by 50%. And for her, life's unrecognisable. And she says she wished she did it 20 years ago. Now, Christine nearly didn't do this. She nearly didn't invest time in herself because it's not normal for her to invest in herself in this way, but she says she's glad she did because everything changed thereafter for her. So that's fear. You may or may not be able to see it for yourself, but it holds so many people back. It is a big issue and we don't always appreciate how it's playing in, but it holds us back. And if we don't combat it, life will always feel hard. And when it goes, it's something that my clients find so astounding. They say things like, that feeling, it just went. And I had one client who felt anxious every morning. And when she got to the bottom of it, when she learned what was causing her to feel that way and dealt with it, one morning I woke up to a really lovely message on my phone. And she said this, she said, I just woke up today and that feeling of anxiousness has gone. And I tried to find it, but it wasn't there. Can you imagine? So she said, I thought about my goal and what I wanted out of life instead. So to recap, because we've gone through a lot now, how can you move forward from here? So my 5 serious recommendations based on having been there and experienced and done this work is that number 1, take the time to decide what you want. Okay, what you really want and commit to it. Get really clear on your identity, who it is you want to be and how is it you want to show up in the world. And then don't guess. like lots of people do, spend some time working out exactly what false beliefs are limiting your success and limiting you from getting what it is you want to get right now, or how you want your life to be right now. And then use mindset techniques that are grounded in neuroscience for this specific purpose that work to reset your neural pathways so you act like you want to act, so that you say what you want to say, so that you become the person that you want to be. And then number 5 is this: fear holds people back because they don't know how to control it effectively. That's it, because they don't know how to control it. So find a way that works, because life really doesn't need to be hard. Okay, some of this stuff, we're just making our life really hard. I know, I've done it. And so, to achieve your full potential and get the results you deserve, you don't need to work harder, do more, or cope better. But you do need a process to effectively decide who you are, what you want, and eliminate self-critical thoughts and feelings. And I know, because all the people I seem to attract into my world are passionate about what they do, and they're incredibly capable. But we need to get you to a point where you get the results you deserve in an easier way. And so I'd be interested, having heard all of that, is that something that you actually want? Is that something that you actually want? So let me just check that everybody's okay here. Okay, so I hope what I've shared so far has been helpful, and there's going to be time for question and answers in a minute. So, and absolutely ask me anything. Like I say, I will share anything that I can with you to help. But for those of you that this is resonating with, those of you who are sat here realizing that you need to do something different, to live the life you want to live, to get the results you want to get, and you're ready just to get this done, I've got an opportunity for you, but it's only for you if you're taking a long, hard look at this and realizing that you don't have enough clarity, you're not taking control of this right now. If you're sat here being really honest with yourself, knowing that you really want to make this change. And so this isn't for everybody here, but do feel free to stay on for you if it's not for you, because there'll be Q&A time in a minute. But this is for a certain type of person that wants to make a long-lasting change now. So I want to just introduce you to my Limitless Success Academy. Now, you can't buy this. It's application only, because I want to make sure you're right for the program, and you'll want to make sure it's the right program for you too, that I'm right for you. But it's a support program with in-person coaching and mentoring from me, with accountability that's going to motivate you to get this work done. So if you're not willing to do the work, then it isn't for you either. But what I have is a framework, and I've mentioned it already, and a set of steps within that to follow. It basically shows you how to change your thinking, change your mindset, so you get the results you want. And I'm there to support you all the way, to help you to become the person you want to be in your life, like I asked you right back at the beginning of this workshop when you joined. And I do that across 12 weeks, one module a week. It takes about an hour. It's bite-sized, step by step, because most people I work with don't have much time. But 1 hour a week, they can fit that in typically. The process I use is my Fresh system, and there's 5 steps to that. I'm going to go through them very quickly. Step 1 is mindset fundamentals. So, let me ask you this. Do you know what subconscious thoughts and false beliefs are getting in the way of your success right now? Because in step 1 of the program, you uncover this. In the first step, I explain then how your mind works so that you can get much better results. So you can get your own extraordinary results. And I share the fundamentals of mindset that people don't know, like some of the stuff I've shared today, but much more. I share the science behind my framework, why it works for everyone, and I'll help you get clarity about what you want to create in your life and who you want to be, so that you create a perfectly balanced life for you and the success that you want to. So that you stop holding yourself up, you start making the changes you want, and you get momentum in your life, so that you take control of your future. And because I like people to get quick wins, I'm all about action and fast results. So I share how to activate new levels of success in week 1 using a rapid transformation technique to end feeling nervous in high pressure situations, and so that you can switch on cast iron confidence. And you'll recall earlier I was talking about Christine and how she increased her income by 50%. She told me that this was a game changer for her at the beginning. It meant that she had a way of doing sales activity that she'd actually avoided for 2 years. So that's step 1. Step 2 is about reprogramming your thoughts and reactions. Now, this is where the magic happens. It isn't magic, by the way. But in this stage, you alter your beliefs and those limiting thoughts, those false beliefs at deep level. You discover how to replace negative thoughts with new empowered thinking, so you don't get held up in negative thought spirals and instead move forward effortlessly and easily. You learn how to achieve your vision, but still remain true to yourself and what's important in your life. You'll master emotional control using more of these techniques so that you shift negative feelings and how to discover how to replace them with empowered feelings like feeling focused, self-assured, composed, resilient. And it will really shift you forwards when you show up in that way. And it's a bit like Colin, who said, I once said to him, it's hard to lead the cavalry if you think you look funny on a horse. And he says that resonated. And so for him, the program has liberated him from known and unknown beliefs about himself. And he recommends the coaching program. So step 3 then is embed and embark. So you'll learn new mindset principles and strategies, because business people are actually much like Olympic athletes. Bear with me. From a mindset perspective, okay? Because if you ever wondered how successful business people think, lots of people haven't given this a lot of thought. I mean, you may have done, but I know I hadn't really. But there are some fundamental principles that these people are applying. So in step 3, I share exact mindset principles for business success so you can achieve your own exceptional results. And you also access more mindset accelerator tools that will embed the transformation that you've made so far, break through all the self-sabotaging behavior, so you move forward with motivation, with flow, with energy, like a renewed sense of energy. And of course, as you move into the future, you will get more success, which is great. You'll have new opportunities, but then of course you will hit some bumps in the road, because we will, as we grow, that will happen. And so in this stage, I equip you with tools and techniques so you're ready to navigate anything and proceed, so that nothing holds you back. And so this is what Clive said. So he was going into a new role and he felt he needed something to stop, think and consider how he was managing himself and how he was approaching and reacting to different situations. He liked the idea of a mindset shift and removing the fear of failure that of course we often have. And he said, getting to the root cause of the way we are is really insightful. And the program's given him a balanced perspective on himself, the way others see him and on life. Okay. So that's step 3. And then step 4, we're nearly there now. So having experienced your own incredible transformation, in this stage, you start to finesse your social influence and build better relationships with people. You discover how to have deep, healthy and very magnetic relationships with others, supporting you to get the outcomes you want in your life and have the ripple effect you want to have too. And you learn how to assert yourself regardless of difference or disagreement. And what's more, you discover how to stop being triggered by difficult characters or worrying like what other people think and letting that trigger you. And Jimmy says this about it. He said, so I help guide him through some internal challenges with dealing with difficult people and situations, and the changes aren't superficial. They are deep down, long-lasting changes. And he says you should give me a call if you want to get that too. So I agree with Jimmy, do that. And then step 5 is head off with habits for success. So, have you ever had one thing that you've always wanted to do or to be able to do and feel like you're nailing it, that you just never felt like you were capable of doing or were nailing? Is there anything like that for you? Because in the program, using the steps, I share how you can use the main asset that you've got in your life, like yourself, to get what you want. And so in this final stage, we draw all your insights and learning together, acknowledge your achievements and how far you've come, and you head off with new ways of behaving for the success that you want. Like Kelly, who said she'd been finding it hard to take action in her business and move it forward. She had no idea why. When she started a coaching program with me, she was surprised how deep we went to uncover what's holding her back. Her perspective started to shift. She's taking more action than ever before. She feels empowered, enthusiastic, self-belief, and now she's promoting herself and her business. And that's the process I went through with this person and everybody else I've mentioned today. But the starting point for getting results is a clarity call with me, where we will sit and talk about where you're at, the objective you're trying to meet, and I'll show you how to create a path for you to achieve it in a time frame that's realistic. I'm not going to promise you the world. I'm just going to give you a realistic time frame of how you could hit your objective and how the fresh program could work for you and how it would facilitate the implementation of those steps for you. So if you know that you want a call already, then you can go on and book one here. And I'm going to go on to talk about it a bit more, but if you know you want one now, then just feel free to go on and grab that QR code or use my website link and grab your call. But I'm just going to go on and talk about what the package includes. So I'll leave that up for a minute and then I'll bring the slide up that shows what the Academy package includes. But basically in the Academy, you get 12 months access to my Limitless Success Academy program. The training program itself with 12 step-by-step modules taking 1 hour to implement per week across 12 weeks. You get access to 2 monthly group coaching workshops to support you that I host. You get personalised feedback and answers to any questions through my online community. I've been on there answering someone this morning already. You get accountability to get this done because I will be talking to you on the calls about it, and I'll be putting accountability posts into our community. And then you get access to my personal productivity blueprint course. So if you feel like you've not got the time, and this is bonus, let me bring that up for you. So this is what you get. So the personal productivity course is actually a bonus course because I know some people that want to do my program are worried how they'll find the time. And it's a course that takes 2 to 3 hours where you actually change your focus so that you're focusing on high value activities, drop the time wasting so that you're not wasting any time. So it typically takes 12 weeks, but of course the changes start from week 1, and the cost of it, I'm not going to hide that from you, it's £997 as a one-off or £97 across 12 months to be able to do it. However, you can't buy it. We need to have a conversation first. We both got to agree that it's the right thing for both of us. So on the call, I'll ask you some questions. I'm sure you will want to ask me plenty of questions. But by the end of the call, we'll have certainty about whether it's the right next step for you. So there's a link if you want to book a call. As I say, I've got 15 calls available. When they're gone, they're gone. I can't do anything about that because I'm really busy at this point in time. But if you've got some questions, then please do feel free to answer. You can answer your own question. You can ask them now. So let me have a look into the chat and the Q&A and see what's going on here. Okay, so I've got some private things coming in here. Let me have a look and see what we've got. Yeah, someone's saying that they travel through life, particularly at work, saying he has to fake it to make it. You know, I don't subscribe to that. I think there's something about being the person that you want to be into the future now. So showing up as that person, but feeling it too. I think faking it to make it is going to feel really hard work. You're just going to be feeling on edge, aren't you? Where you know what it's like when you feel like you're faking it, like walking through airport security and that feeling of like, like might be caught by customs going through there, and you're like, I feel like I'm faking it. That's what you'd be going through life like. I think faking it to make it, like a bit on edge. So yeah, I don't agree with that. I'm with you on that one. So let me have a look into the question and answers. I can't see any questions coming through at the moment. If you want to ask a private question, you can do that in the chat because that's got space in it, or you can ask into the Q&A. Sometimes people ask me questions about, how long it's going to take, and I've already mentioned it is an hour a week. You get the odd week where you might want to spend more time on it. I think in about week 4 is a week where I think it's worth spending a bit more time, but other than that, it's 1 hour per week. In terms of the group workshops, some people say they don't fancy those. And actually, I think Clive was one of the people is it Clive that said to me, one of the people anyway that I've given a testimonial from today, said they didn't fancy the workshops. And actually, that's one of the things that they really got a lot from. But because I put the workshops into the portal after they've run and hold them there for a couple of weeks for people to watch if they've not made it, then you can go in and have a look when you join. And then if you don't fancy, you don't have to join. They're not compulsory, but most people look, and they're actually really nice calls because I've been fortunate in that I've got really nice people in my programs, so people feel comfortable to turn up and just share openly. It's actually a really nice space. So, okay, well, I don't think I can see any questions, although I can see people going in and out actually, which is very strange. Okay, not to worry. So people have left and come back, I think. Cool. So look, if you don't have any more questions, I'm going to sign off now. We'll just hang on a second. to make sure, because I know that there's a 20-second delay on this, which is a little frustrating. So if not, if you don't have any more questions, you don't want to hang on and see if anybody else has, and please feel free to leave and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your attention. I really appreciate that, and you taking the time to listen. And I really hope that it's been helpful for you. If you do want to book a call, then I'd absolutely love to speak to you in person and see how I might help you achieve your objective and talk through the steps that it would take to get you there. So one last look. I don't see any questions. So here we are. Is the initial call free? Yes, the initial call is absolutely free. So feel free to book one of those. I'm glad you asked that. Thank you very much. I'll make a note to say that the next time. Okay, so I don't see any more questions. So thank you very much, everyone. It's been fantastic, and I'm sure I'll catch up with you online soon if I don't see you on a call.